Okay, so let's say we want to write a process for how to make coffee. Maybe some people make great coffee in the office and other people make lousy coffee. So you think, let's create a process for making coffee. Now, this might seem like a silly process to demonstrate, but it's good because everybody knows how to make a cup of coffee. So it's helpful to create a process that everybody really understands so that you can see how to write a process. So I'm going to log into TouchStone and I'm going to come up here to my 4 key functions. The first question I'm going to ask myself is, making coffee, where would I store that? Is that a sort of a sales and marketing process? Is it something to do with client fulfillment, customer support? Is it strategy and management? Or is it kind of like admin or something like that, stuff that goes on behind the scenes? And I'm going to say it's probably an administrative process. So I'm going to click that. Now, know that you can put this process anywhere you like, whatever makes sense to you. These key functions are primarily here to help you departmentally segment what's going on in your business so that you can think of all of the things that are going on in your business, so that you can create process names and get a better understanding. Instead of creating one big list, you can segment your thinking. But what you'll see is that in a minute, we're going to actually link this process to a role on our org chart. And that's where someone would find it when they log into TouchStone. But for the time being, I'm going to say this process is going to go here under running the business. So I'm going to come up here and click process, create. Let's call this process making coffee. And let's put it under administration and click save process. Now I'm going to select the process. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write an objective. An objective is a sentence or two that describes what is this process. Not how you do it, but what is it. So a process name is usually 2 or 3 or 4 words, and then the process objective helps you describe what that process is, so that if someone looks at it, they go, oh, yeah, I know what making coffee is. So I'm going to click in here, and I'm going to say that the objective or the purpose for having a process for making coffee is to ensure that we have great coffee available to all staff throughout the day. Okay, and then I'm going to hit save. Now you'll notice right now that there is a list of process tools over here. A process is a collection of process tools, which will become apparent as we walk through this process. Almost every process should have a work plan. So I'm going to select work plan. And I'm going to start by simply retyping the name of that process, making coffee. And I'm going to hit create work plan. And now I'm going to walk through the documentation for how to make coffee. I'm going to select add task. I'm going to click in here. And the first step is to fill the coffee machine with water. Second step is to put a coffee filter in the top of the machine. Next step is to put 6 scoops of coffee into the filter and then set the coffee machine dial to 6 and then finally turn coffee machine on. And there you have it. Now I have a process for making coffee. And I'm going to want to now link this to a role on the org chart. Now I'm one level deep. I'm in the process tools. I'm in the making coffee work plan. So I've got to come up one level. So I got to go up to the process details. I click here. And then I'm going to link this to a box on my organization chart. So let's say that the office admin assistant does this and the receptionist is primarily responsible for making sure coffee's done in the office. What I've just done now is I've linked this process, making coffee, to a role on the org chart. And when I add a user to my TouchStone account and put them in the role of admin assistant or receptionist, when they log into their dashboard, the process will be displayed for them. So now we have this process. But wait a second, we have 2 coffee machines in the office. We have a coffee machine in the kitchen, and then we have an espresso machine in the boss's office. So suddenly we think, oh, well, now we need another work plan because we have a different work plan for making coffee in the Nespresso machine. So I'm going to click on Work Plans, and I'm going to call this work plan Making Coffee Nespresso Machine. And this one has a whole nother set of tasks that I would document and write here, because it's different. That's you make coffee different in an espresso machine. And this one, I'm just going to come back here and I'm going to say, this is the kitchen machine. So now we have two work plans for making coffee. And maybe it's really complicated to make coffee using the espresso machine. So we're going to upload a PDF file, which is the Nespresso operating manual, because all of the instructions for making Nespresso coffee are right there. I'm going to go ahead and choose this file. And I see it right here. Here's the operating manual. And I'm going to upload that operating manual right there. And now, instead of documenting how to make a coffee using the espresso machine, I'm going to just say see operating manual. And I'm going to hyperlink to that operating manual. So I'm going to select this little hyperlink button, an uploaded file. And there it is right there. I'm going to click Insert and hit Save. And so now when someone needs to make coffee with an espresso, I can just open up the operating manual. Okay, now let's say that someone goes out and buys coffee that isn't what we want. We want Pete's coffee. Part of making coffee, we might also want a work plan for purchasing the right type of coffee. We have a work plan called Purchasing Coffee here. And here we might have go to www.petescoffee.com, username and password. Then we say order 5 pounds of organic French roast and request that it is ground for a bronze cone filter. And so now we have this process making coffee, and it actually has 3 different work plans. Now let's say that we keep running out of coffee early in the day, and we don't want to be running out of coffee. We might want to add an expectation to the kitchen machine work plan. And that expectation is something like, if you pour the last cup of coffee and it is before 3 p.m., start a fresh pot and save. And so now we have a process called making coffee with 3 different work plans. One is for making coffee in the kitchen machine. One is for making coffee in the Nespresso machine. And this is an uploaded file, which is the operating manual for the Nespresso machine. And then we have a 3rd work plan for how to purchase coffee. And by the way, this link can be hyperlinked so that you can just click here and go right there, enter your username and password, and then create your order.